Hey guys, if you're watching this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can see my first ever season with the FLW Southwestern Toyota Series. I announced in my other videos that this year I was fishing the Costa Series, but right before the tournament started, they let us know that the title sponsor is now Toyota, so now it's the Toyota Series. But first ever tournament on Toledo Bend for me, first ever time on Toledo Bend aside from a few hours back in December, but the weather was changing, a lot of things were changing, the fish were doing some really weird stuff, which I'll do my best to explain. They were in a weird transition, which I've never, or at least don't have a whole lot of experience in Texas, so it was kind of weird for me figuring it out. But I was torn between doing what I really like to do, which is fish like swim jigs, chatterbaits, spinnerbaits up shallow, and then there was also this bite going on way out deep offshore, not really what I like to do, but it was happening and I couldn't deny that. But I got on it a little bit, which I'll show you what I got on, what I figured out, what I think was actually happening with the fish, as you know, with everything going on. But hope you guys enjoy the video. We'll get on to it so I can start explaining to you what I found in practice, and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can see all my other videos from this year. Alright, so this is Toledo Bend here. It's huge, full of stumps, very difficult to navigate because there are boat lanes through the stumps, so you have to travel by those. But I just kind of hit this place like a wild man to start out with, and just had the idea of just sampling every bit that I could of the lake in a very short amount of time and see what I could do, which the difficult bite did not help at all with that. But here's right where I started. Dropped in at this ramp in the back of 6 Mile. Caught a fish in the first 5 minutes off the laydown right here. So I started running a little bit of that just for a few minutes. Didn't get any more bites. It didn't really seem very consistent. So I kept trying some other things, and I'm literally just bouncing around everywhere, doing offshore, flying up the lake in different places through the next couple days. But here is the first fish that I caught, and just kind of how it all started. Alright, to kind of explain that second catch here, this is just a drain coming out through here. I actually, it looked like it was a little bit deeper than it was in the video, but it was actually really shallow. I was just fishing the edges of it, just going all the way back through here, and actually caught, well, I got a bite on this side, and I caught that fish right on this side, but I just kind of came back in. This is actually a completely different area of the lake. Like I said, I was just hopping around trying different areas. But the reason why I'm doing all this stuff, the water temp on the day that I got there was, I think it was 52, 54 degrees. I think it might have warmed up to 54, 55. But it was right in that range where, with my knowledge, the fish should be pre-spawn. Or, moving up in areas just like this. And I got that bite right in here up shallow on that chatterbait, and like you saw in the video, there was somebody really close by, so I just kind of let it pop off of there. But it looked like probably about a 4-pounder, and then I got bit right over here on a little frit side crankbait, and it pulled off right after it bit. But then I, kept trying some of these areas, and I wasn't getting bit in areas like that consistently either. It was like I got a couple bites in there, and I will tell you that as my practice went on, the bites just were very sporadic and tough to pattern. But here we go on to the next one. So also in practice, I was keeping them honest. I was going out deep too. And this is the type of stuff that I was fishing. I mean, you have the main channel running out in Toledo Bend. You've got humps, and actually this is the end of a drain coming out here, and just fishing this main lake offshore stuff. And there was a bite out there too. And I mean, a lot of people knew it was going on, and I could catch them out there, but again, that's definitely not my strong point. And I sampled it a little bit, I knew fish were there, but that wasn't what I thought I could go in the tournament with and do good. So again, I'm still running up shallow. I'm spending well over the majority of my time up shallow, and I could find the fish out there and catch them, but it was kind of inconsistent for me too. And again, I'm not really strong out there, but that was kind of what I'm doing in these next couple catches, just way out here offshore fishing stuff just exactly like this. Okay, so I need to explain that these next couple catches are one of the things that made me believe that my shallow bite was actually getting better instead of getting worse. Is in this is kind of like a mid, just afternoon type of thing. I'm coming back in here to check out this area, and as I'm coming through here, it's an area where I'm seeing a lot of activity with bait, and I can literally ran over some right here that had some bass feeding on them, and I hadn't been seeing that. So that was one of the things that made me think these fish back here were finally becoming more active. And to explain that, before the tournament started, there was a huge cold front came through. The water temperature was actually in the 60s before this, before I got there. and then it cooled back off to that. So I thought that if there were fish that had stayed up there, they were, if they weren't biting and they were just being inactive, and they were, things were going to liven up back in these areas. And I come back in here and there's some bait moving around. I'm seeing a lot more balls of bait than I had seen in other areas like this. So I start throwing A-rig around, and here's how I started catching them this way. Like that. It's big, but I like it. Okay, so at this point right here is kind of one of the times when it really was seeming like the shallow bite was really picking up for me. I just got 2 bites right back in here right before that I didn't set the hook on, that were in about a foot of water, which this next one that I finally set the hook on because I was starting to wonder if they were, had any size to them or anything. But ultra shallow, the kind of thing that I was looking for, and that I was getting bit doing, and I was starting to get bit more and more doing it throughout these couple days of practice and getting pretty confident in it. But it was still kind of inconsistent, but I was reassuring myself that that was going to change going into the tournament. But again, the weather didn't seem like it was going to work out right, and I was pretty skeptical of it. But that one wasn't a great one, but it was a small one, but it was kind of promising, getting that many bites in a small area like that up shallow. Anyway, we'll get on to the next one, and I'll kind of show you what all happened at the end of, or the last few days of my practice here. That was a bite. Of course, I just didn't get this on camera. Giant on a swim jig in like a foot of water. So I will pause it right there and say that I am sorry that I didn't get this one on camera, but I had stopped setting the hook and I was fishing a swim jig, which is not an easy one for them to hook themselves on, and this thing just obliterates it in like a foot of water, and some, you can see in the background, I mean, I can't believe that I didn't see it, but there was some grass, a little grass patch there, brought the swim jig by it, and this thing just annihilated it and hooked himself. Didn't want to catch this thing, you know, a day before the tournament, but that's what happened. And well, this was 2 days before the tournament, but I will say that this fish was great. You can see the smile on my face, but after that fish, I did not get a bite shallow until, well, I didn't get a bite shallow, period. The next day, the rest of this day, the next day, which was the day before the tournament, and I'll go on to explain that in just a second, but I ended up pretty much getting one bite offshore the next day, which was the day before the tournament. One bite the day before the tournament, no bite shallow. And that was what I ended on. So definitely some mixed emotions on what I should be doing going into the tournament, but that is why I was so hung up and kind of what my pattern was going in the tournament, but you guys will see anyway. Alright, so the bites that I got definitely had me torn going into tournament day, because at first during practice I was getting that feeling that the fish were actually starting to become more active up shallow, but as the tournament came on, the temperatures actually started cooling off again, so it seemed like it was changing the bite a little bit more. And then you had the day before the tournament, after I had, you know, one of my more promising days up shallow where I got a good bite up shallow, and I'd actually quit setting the hook on them because I was just kind of sampling areas and I was done doing that and I was just looking at a certain part of the lake. It almost just shut off on me, and then I didn't get it on film, but right as I was coming back in on my last day of practice, I stopped offshore and I caught another one out on the main channel. So I knew that bite was there and I knew it was still going on, but I was definitely getting better and better bites up shallow leading up to the tournament, beside that last day where there was some definite red flags yelling at me that maybe that bite wasn't going to work out like I thought it was when I was leading up to the tournament. But temperature's dropping off, things are definitely changing. Going in the tournament, I had to make some decisions really the night before on what I was going to do. Watch the tournament video and you will find out what I decided on, what I did, and how it worked out for me. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and be ready for that video to come out here soon.